Welcome to this new series, Next Level Relationships. In this series, we're going to be looking at what God says about different relationships. We want you to know that we can take our relationships to the next level by sharing our story. That can look like sharing your testimony and sharing your faith with your friends, because your story will help others to understand more about Jesus. So it's important for us to share our stories. That's why our one thing to remember today is I will take my relationships to the next level by sharing my story. Let's look at what that means practically for us to share our stories. Point number one, understand that everyone has questions. Even if someone says they don't believe in God or have no interest, they probably do have questions. We have influence, and just telling our stories might help answer some of those questions. Even after we make Jesus the leader of our lives, we might have questions of our own, which is okay. We just have to have faith in God and His promises and go to a leader that we trust or a leader that will help us answer some of those questions. Also, always remember what God has done in your life and what you really know about Him. Remember that He's faithful, He's powerful, and that He loves you like no one else. That will be the foundation for your life and the answer for a lot of the questions that will come along the way. I want to look at a story from the Bible this morning. It's a true story about a woman who encountered Jesus and then shared her story with those around her. In John 4, verses 1 through 26, we see Jesus stopping by Samaria because he was tired on a long journey. He sat beside a well, and soon a woman came to draw water. Jesus approached her, asking her for water. And she doesn't understand why he's asking her this because he's a Jew and she's a Samaritan. But then she looks at Jesus and he says, "I am the Messiah." And then he tells her her whole life story. And then she takes what Jesus has told her and goes and shares that with the entire town. "I had an encounter with the Messiah. You have to come and hear him too." She went and spread the good news with everyone by sharing her story about Jesus. I want to point out that Jesus had to hear the questions that she had, but he pointed back to the fact that he is the Messiah. She had a lot of questions. She was like, "Why are you asking me for water?" And he responded, "I am the living water. If you drink the water I give, you will never be thirsty again." Sometimes people will have questions about faith that we just don't have to get into. We have to just point them back to God. He is the answer. He is the Messiah. So, first, we have to understand that everyone has questions. And point number two, use your own story. If we look back at the story of the woman at the well, that's exactly what she did. She shared her very own personal story with the people in that town. So this week, share your story. Share what Jesus has done in your life. It doesn't have to be fancy or perfect. The amazing part is that we all have different stories, and we have an influence on our relationships, those people that we're around. Be honest and watch how God will use you to speak into someone's life. Sharing your story is a part of sharing the love of Jesus with others. And when we share the love of Jesus, we're also sharing hope and life. And that can completely change someone else's life. So, I want you to memorize this verse over the next 5 weeks. It's found in Romans 12:9. And it says this: "Don't just pretend to love others, really love them. Hate what is wrong and hold tightly to what is good."